Here's something the financial industry doesn't talk about enough. Women and men retire differently. They spend retirement differently, and the risks they face, especially in their later years, are completely different. So, why are so many women using the exact same retirement plan as their husbands? Today, we're going to fix that. I'm going to show you exactly how women are using fixed indexed annuities differently than men, and why those differences could be the key to making sure you never run out of money, no matter how long you live. I'm Shonda Prescott, and this is Retirement Security Simplified. Let's get into it. Before we talk about FIAs, we need to talk about the reality that women face in retirement, because the numbers tell a very clear story. First, longevity. On average, women live 2 to 3 years longer than men. That might not sound like much, but in retirement, 2 to 3 extra years means 2 to 3 more years of bills, groceries, healthcare, and housing costs. And if you're married, there's a very real chance you'll spend the last chapter of your retirement completely on your own. Second, income gaps. Many women took time away from their careers to raise children or care for aging parents. That means smaller Social Security checks, smaller 401k and IRA balances, less to work with, and more years to make it last. Third, healthcare costs. Women, on average, spend more on healthcare in retirement than men do. And when it comes to long-term care, things like home health aides, assisted living, or memory care, women are more likely to need it, and they tend to need it for longer. And finally, the widow's penalty. When a spouse passes away, one Social Security check goes away, just like that. For many women, that's a loss of hundreds of dollars a month in household income, right at the moment when they're already grieving and adjusting to life alone. These aren't scare tactics, these are facts, and a solid retirement plan has to account for all of them. So let's talk about what women are doing differently and how fixed index annuities fit into that picture. I work with a lot of pre-retirees and retirees, and over time I've noticed some clear patterns in how women approach this differently than men. Here are the 4 biggest ones. Number 1, women prioritize guaranteed income over market gains. When I sit down with a couple, I almost always see the same dynamic. The husband wants to know how much growth potential there is. The wife wants to know, will this money last as long as I live? That's not a criticism of either perspective. It's just a difference in priorities. And honestly, the wife's question is the right one to build a retirement plan around. Fixed index annuities are uniquely built to answer that question. Here's how they work in plain language. Your money is protected from market losses. You cannot lose your principal due to a market crash. At the same time, your account has the opportunity to grow based on the performance of a market index, like the S&P 500. And then, if you add what's called an income rider, you can turn that account into a guaranteed paycheck for life, a paycheck you can't outlive. For women who are thinking about longevity first, that combination is incredibly powerful. Number 2, women plan for solo income, not just spousal income. Here's a statistic that gets people's attention. On average, women outlive their husbands by 8 to 12 years. Think about that. If you're married right now and you're planning your retirement together, you also need to plan for the years you might be on your own. One of the ways women use fixed index annuities, also known as FIAs, differently is by making sure that the income they set up continues at full value, 100%, if their spouse passes first. This is called a joint income benefit, and it's built right into many FIA income riders. So instead of the income dropping when a spouse passes, which happens in a lot of retirement scenarios, the income keeps coming in at the same amount. That surviving spouse usually the wife, never has to wonder how she's going to pay her bills. Number 3, women used fixed index annuities as a long-term care bridge. This one surprises a lot of people. Some fixed index annuities include what's called a long-term care enhancement rider. Here's what that means in plain English. If you reach a point where you can no longer perform 2 of the 6 basic activities of daily living, things like bathing, dressing, or eating, your fixed index annuity income benefit can double or even triple. So instead of receiving, say, $2,000 a month in guaranteed income, you might receive $4,000 or $6,000 a month during a care event, right when you need it most. Now, this is not the same as a traditional long-term care insurance policy. It works differently and has different terms. But for women who are worried about long-term care costs and don't want to pay expensive long-term care insurance premiums, or who couldn't qualify for traditional long-term care insurance, this can be a meaningful piece of the puzzle. Number 4, women use fixed index annuities to protect their other investments. This is something I call the income floor strategy, and it's one of the most practical things you can do to protect your retirement. Here's the idea. If you have guaranteed income coming in every month from your fixed index annuities, from Social Security, from a pension, you don't have to touch your investment portfolio when the market drops. Think about what happens to most retirees in a down market. They still need to pay their bills, so they have to sell their investments at exactly the wrong time, when prices are low. That locks in the loss permanently. It's called sequence of returns risk, and it's one of the biggest threats to a retirement portfolio. By using a portion of your savings to create a guaranteed income floor, you protect the rest of your portfolio. Your market investments stay invested. They have time to recover, and you never have to sell at a loss just to keep the lights on. For women who may have had smaller overall balances and less margin for error, this strategy is especially important. Now let's talk about Social Security for a minute, because there are some strategies that are especially important for women that don't get nearly enough attention. First, if you're married, you have a choice between claiming on your own Social Security record or claiming a spousal benefit based on your husband's record. Which one makes sense depends entirely on your individual earnings history. A lot of women automatically assume they'll just take the spousal benefit, but in some cases, their own record is actually higher. It's worth running the numbers. Second, survivor benefits. This is critical. If your husband delays his Social Security to age 70, his benefit grows significantly. And when he passes, you inherit that higher benefit as your survivor benefit. That could be the difference between financial security and financial struggle in your 80s and 90s. So, one of the most important gifts a husband can give his wife is delaying his Social Security to 70 and using other income sources, like a fixed index annuity, to bridge the gap in the meantime. Third, if you're divorced and your marriage lasted 10 years or more, you may be entitled to claim Social Security benefits based on your ex-spouse's record. That's true even if they've remarried, and it does not reduce their benefit at all. A lot of women don't know this, and it can make a real difference. And fourth, for women who are worried about money and feel pressure to claim Social Security at 62, a fixed index annuity can serve as a bridge. It gives you income in your early retirement years so you're not forced to claim early and lock in a permanently reduced benefit. Okay, let me bring this all together with an example so you can see how it works in real life. Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her Carol, who is 63 years old and planning to retire at 65. Her husband is 66. She has a smaller retirement account than he does, and like most couples, they're counting on both Social Security checks to cover their expenses. Here's what a woman-centered retirement plan might look like for Carol and her husband. take a portion of their combined retirement savings and place it into a fixed index annuity with a joint income rider. That means when the income turns on, it pays both of them, and if her husband passes first, 100% of that income continues to Carol for the rest of her life. That guaranteed income covers their essential monthly expenses: mortgage or rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, the basics. So neither of them is ever forced to sell their investments in a bad market just to pay the bills. Meanwhile, her husband delays his Social Security to age 70. That gives Carol the highest possible survivor benefit she'll inherit down the road. And because the fixed index annuity is providing income in the meantime, they don't need his Social Security check to survive right now. Carol's FIA also includes a long-term care enhancement rider. So if she ever reaches a point where she needs help with daily activities, that income benefit can double, giving her real resources to pay for care without draining her savings or burdening her family. And their remaining investment accounts, their 401k, their IRAs, stay in the market. They keep growing because Carol and her husband don't need to touch them. The income floor is already covered. That is a retirement plan built for a woman's reality. And that's the kind of plan I help people put together every single day. Here's the bottom line. Women live longer. They often have smaller balances. They're more likely to face long-term care needs, and they're very likely to spend a portion of retirement on their own. A retirement plan that doesn't account for those realities isn't really a plan. It's a hope. Fixed indexed annuities, when used correctly, can address every single one of those challenges: guaranteed income for life, survivor protection, long-term care coverage, and a shield for the rest of your portfolio. But here's what I want you to know. Every woman's situation is different. Your Social Security picture is different. Your income needs are different. Your health history is different. And that's why a one-size-fits-all approach never works. If you'd like to learn more, take a look at the free booklet called Retire Smart. It's available on the page that's linked in the description box. And if this video was helpful, please hit that subscribe button. I post new retirement planning content every week, all in plain language with no financial jargon. I'm Shonda Prescott, and this is Retirement Security Simplified, where we specialize in turning confusion into confidence, one conversation at a time.